Earlier this week, Nigeria's Petroleum Products Pricing Agency, that's the PPPRA, announced that the country's domestic liquefied petroleum gas, or LPG, consumption exceeded 1 million metric tons for the first time in 2020. The PPPRA Executive Secretary Abdulkadir Saidu said in a statement that the feat was made possible last year in the nation's history, where LPG consumption has reached the 1 million metric tons threshold. Looking ahead, Nigeria's National Gas Expansion Program seeks to give the people of Nigeria alternative energy options for consumption, which includes the autogas rollout, which is on a mission to ensure that LPG, CNG, compressed natural gas are used as fuel for automobiles. Joining me to discuss this now is Ayisat Dahood, analyst at Financial Derivatives Company. Good morning, Aisha. Good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yes. What more do you think we can do to develop gas consumption and utilization in Nigeria if we look at Ghana for guidance?
Okay, so Ghana's regasification project turned out to be a success because the country took into considerations peculiarities, items that are peculiar to the country. So they went for their regasification in barges and then a floating storage unit, as opposed to having a floating storage regasification unit, which is more expensive. So all this put in place and conversion of their transportation network from the crude oil into gases. You know, most of the transporters converted they showed their willingness to convert, their stations into gas plants, which would help them channel this supply when they start delivering the LNGs to consumers by the end of Q1 2021. So by the time they'll start going to the market, easy access to market is already there because they have willing transporters to help them take it to the off-grid site. Nigeria does not necessarily have to adopt this same project. We have peculiarities to ourselves. Currently, I recall the Nigerian Gas Transportation Network Code was launched in February 2020. They're currently working to see that, our domestic gas market is deepened. The natural gas flare commercialization program is also on to increase gas supply to power, to gas-based industries, to a lot of other things, including the LPG itself. So Nigeria is really striving, federal government is really striving to improve our utilization of these gas reserves because we have a very huge gas reserve. And our gas reserve has increased from 2019, increased by about 0.5% to 203.16 trillion cubic feet. We have this huge reserve, and we're really trying to deepen into it. So we just have to encourage the transportation network code to continue to migrate the gas transport network to deepen it to the market so that, once we achieve what we want to achieve, we can easily take it into the end users.
So, Ayisat, here we have good news on one hand that we've reached a milestone of 1 million metric tons of LPG use, but there are concerns about the locally sourced LPG. Why is this share of this LPG product declining? How can we change it to become more sustainable and keep that trajectory?
All right. So the locally sourced LPG, that's cooking gas, declined, as at 2020, in December 2020 or October 2020, it declined. But if we look at where we're coming from, compare what we were sourcing locally, that's about 54,000 metric tons as at October 2020. If we look at what we're sourcing locally as at 2019, we've improved. About over 200% improvement. That's an increase from what we're doing in 2019. So just a decline within the month, it could be worrisome. However, it's not something that, we should start panicking over. We could say the increased demand caused this, fluctuation and all of that in the decline of the LPG sourced locally. But they're trying their best, and Nigeria will keep looking at what it can do to improve gas that is sourced and to utilize our gas reserve to the fullest.
Okay, so here we are in terms of consumption and price. So we're very happy that we're increasing consumption, but price comes in here, keep going up.
So it's natural for forces of demand and supply to come into play. So if we're experiencing slight increase, so the change in the price is just a slight one. It's just about 1.7 thereabout within the November and that of December. Looking at it from the beginning of the year, it has been somewhat stable. But if we look out to 2021 now, it's supposed to, where we expect that, by the time they make amendments to meet current demand that is increasing, if the supply can increase at the rate at which the demand is increasing, the prices, would adjust and amend itself. For the alternatives, if the price will continue to increase, we can expect some people will want to reduce their demand for LPGs and cooking gas and start opting for the alternative measures.
I was just about to ask that how do we then bring down the price, because the penetration of gas LPG is increasing, which means the demand is increasing. So do we need more LPG producers? What do we need to do to keep the price still affordable and increase? Because the market is there, 200 million people, and we keep increasing in number.
Remember, we have about 203 trillion cubic feet of gas reserves that we can utilize. And I can tell you the Nigeria Gas Transportation Network Code, they are currently working, they've started working with gas transporters, that network. They need to utilize that network. They need to make sure that they use it efficiently as much as they can to penetrate and supply to the increasing and meet the increasing demand as soon as they can, so that these prices would not increase. And the price increase, I don't believe is going to be sustainable, in the long run. However, in the short run, as soon as supply is able to increase at the same rate demand is increasing, prices should begin to fall after the short run.
So you were just touching on a bit earlier about how the increase in LPG price will affect the use of fossil fuels, kerosene, and firewood. Do we still have this even within our cooking system, which endangers, which is not safe for women, for children, for the environment?
So because people like you and I, we use LPG cooking gas in our house, does not mean there's still about 1% or 5% of the population in Nigeria. There's still 5% of them that use charcoal, firewood, kerosene. Remember, disposable income is not equal. So the people that opt for this, is not as if they do not wish to, they wish to. However, the price is making them go for it. So if the price of cooking gas will continue to increase, I can bet you those people will start dwindling to the alternative sources like kerosene, firewood, and charcoal, like you mentioned. That would only be for a short period, because in the long run, the prices will still come down when supply starts to meet demand. And then we can now talk about green and cleaner environment.
Okay, yeah, so that brings us to the cleaner environment. What does that mean for clean energy initiatives?
So for the Clean Energy Initiative, we need to reduce our carbon footprint. So, the aim for the zero gas flaring initiative, we're getting there. So with FGN striving to promote increased utilization of our huge gas reserve, I believe we are on our way towards cleaner energy in the environment.
Okay, Ayisat, thank you so much for speaking with us. Very interesting conversation. I'm sure we'll continue. I'm sure there are a couple of issues still there concerning the LPG. I know the issue of the tank itself was one issue, the cost at which it comes to people. How can you buy the safety of those tanks and all of that? Are you sure that's part of the problems that we need to address?
They're part of the problems we need to address. They're currently being worked on. So safety has become an issue because, you have gas explosion here and there. And I know there are control measures that are being initiated by the regulatory bodies to ensure that, the transportation of these products from one place to our end users is meeting up to the required regulatory requirements. There are certain things that need to be in place, like the lock, the emergency brake, the valve, and all those things to limit all these kind of explosions. Also, the use in the house, even in the house, the way you use cooking gas, one needs to be very careful and make sure it's not leaking, the cylinders, even the tankers transporting this from one place to the other. They also need
I've seen how some of the gas tanks are transported inside Keke Marwa and what have you. We hope there's a whole lot of danger. Thank you so much, Ayisat, from Financial Derivatives Company.